Welcome to Richmond Kickers Weekly. My name is Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by a man who loves his ESPN Plus subscription. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello, I do indeed. I wish it could respond to keyboard commands.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
It does not.
The iPad app is good, right? You can go backwards and forwards.
I think that's the problem is I usually watch these games on the iPad app. So then whenever I try to watch it on our monitor here in the office, I hit the forward and backward arrows, and Daryl laughs and laughs at my expense.
It's because you kept doing it, even though it obviously wasn't working.
Well, Daryl, we've established that I'm smart, and there you go. That's what happens.
So what game were you watching? What game were we watching?
We were watching Forward Madison playing host to our Richmond Kickers.
Yes.
The Richmond Kickers getting a 1-0 win on the road.
Yep.
3 straight wins.
We sent
Kickers.
Forward Madison into retreat.
Yeah, there you go.
Backward Madison.
Yeah.
For at least the last half an hour.
We made them whatever the opposite of flamingos are. Does it work that way?
I don't know if there's an opposite of flamingos.
Penguin, I guess?
Yes.
They're short, they waddle. That's it.
The backwards penguins.
Yes, exactly. They actually belong in cold weather.
So, yeah, I should say the Madison, the atmosphere at the ground, I think there were nearly 5,000 people there, and they were all nice and close to the field. It looked nice and lively.
It did, because they had the wraparound, they had fans just behind the goal, they had fans in the stands, they had a giant dartboard that I'm assuming was for kicking soccer balls at.
Yes,
but
I hope so.
You got the vibe that it was like a fun atmosphere to enjoy a soccer game.
I also saw behind one of the goals there was a bar called the Crossbar. You know, I love a pun.
That's well done.
Yeah.
That's well done.
It's pretty good, right? You know what wasn't so good, though? The camera work.
Not so much.
I don't know if it's the camera position. It's not quite high enough for my liking. I like to see the formations.
Things can be two things, my friend, because I think even though they were very close to the action, so it made it hard to see a lot of what was going on, it was also the case that there were those moments of like, oh yeah, I got to move the camera. Like the ball would be passed, and then it was that frantic catch up as fast as they could.
Even for the Richmond Kickers goal in the 69th minute, scored by Daniel Jackson, there's a moment where the ball is out of shot and you don't know what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think also the replay camera, because there's always that like the wide angle, such as it was for this game, and then there's the secondary camera.
The wide angle, such as it was.
Yes, and then the secondary camera for this one, when they showed us that replay, it was like as Daniel Jackson tries to go around the goalkeeper the first time, but none of the build-up, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I think we were limited.
We pieced it together.
Yeah.
We pieced it together.
More or less.
When she figured out how the keyboard didn't work.
That's worth noting. I shouldn't really be throwing shade at people when I'm still like, back button, no work.
Let's talk about the Kickers formation.
All right.
We went with the back three again.
We did.
We could call it a 3-5-2, I think is the best way to call it, because so Lockerbie and Hughes were the right wing back, left wing back. There wasn't very often them all the way back in a back five, right?
No.
So it really was more like a 3-5-2.
Yeah, it was. And then I would almost say it goes to the like 3-5-1, or it's like 3-5-1-1, and one of those ones is Joe Gallardo doing kind of whatever he wants.
So it started with Gallardo underneath Chin.
Yeah.
I'd say when the Kickers are defending, they're in a 2.
Yeah.
Like Gallardo is level with Chin.
Yeah.
But when the Kickers have possession, it seems like Gallardo has lots of freedom. He's essentially like Diego Maradona in 1986. Argentina played this formation.
Exactly the same. But no, like I should clarify, I didn't say that just to be like pedantic. Like it was more of a 1-1 than a 2. But what I mean more so is that I think this formation...
It's like calculum.
Calculon is acting. That's who that is, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Making sure I know things. I can't quite do the beautiful voice that he has.
Sorry, we're talking about Gallardo.
No, let's talk about Calculon some more. Yes, but I was making that distinction to note that I think the Kickers have found a way to sort of get their defense solid, get enough numbers in midfield to be able to keep possession and not have some of the problems we've seen early in the season, but then it allows Gallardo to kind of float around and sort of occupy
space. He doesn't have defensive responsibilities
exactly.
as much, right?
And that's what I think
he has
is so
some,
key.
but he doesn't have to get back all the way back to midfield and be in a shape.
Yeah, but it allows him to sort of, instead of do that, he can sort of notice like, oh, that center back's too far forward or too far wide, and I can occupy the space between, and that will pull the other center back, and that opens up space on the other side.
He can overload sides.
Exactly. I think he can pay attention to stuff off the ball, which allows him to find himself in better attacking positions.
Yes, and then the other thing is there seems to me a lot more movement from the Kickers midfield, and
definitely.
the key to this goal is the movement of Josh Hughes.
I believe it's Will Hughes. No, it's not. It's Josh Hughes.
It's Josh Hughes.
Yes.
So we mentioned that he started at left wing back. There's a substitution in the 60th minute or so. Thompson comes in. Thompson plays left wing back, and Josh Hughes goes back to his more regular position, because where we first saw him as part of the midfield three.
Yes,
right.
Yeah,
but it's what he does in there for the build up to this goal, scored by Jackson, who'd just come on for Chin 3 minutes ago. That I think is really important. I'd like you to describe it because you spotted it first.
I mean, I spotted aspects of it because, again, a lot of it is off camera because we're very close up. But yeah, he starts on the kind of right side, not like on the far right touchline, but in like the right side of those three central midfielders.
Yeah.
And you see him as the ball is being worked around from Fitzgerald to Magales and around the kind of defense.
It's the three centre-backs, I think, pass it to each other, right? So it's Akwai, Shinosky, Magales.
Yeah, and Hughes makes the run from right to left. And it is definitely, in watching it again, a thing that has been emphasized or practiced or drawn up, that it's not just him making a sort of aimless run to the other side of the field into open space, because that wouldn't be a natural thing. Your natural thing would be like, I'll drift wider or I'll kind of stay in a supporting space in case the ball comes this way. I think it's clear that the Kickers have worked on overloading a side and getting bodies into spaces that have been vacated by other players. And so when we see Hughes pop up one more time in that run, he has kind of lost his mark and is moving into wide open space. And then when we see him again, because again the camera cuts off a little bit, cuts back, and we see him basically having been played in, getting the through ball, and then playing a through ball of his own.
Thompson gives it to him.
Yeah, I think so.
It gets worked wide to Thompson in the left wing back spot, and then he can give it to Hughes in midfield, who's mostly open. And then he plays a through ball intended for Joe Gallardo. But it doesn't get there. It's really fortunate for the Kickers that it doesn't get there.
It is. Because, I mean, Gallardo, we think, has made a run from an onside position. Again, it's tough to say, but we think Gallardo would have been onside. But even then, he has to get around the defender, number 27, who was...
Diaz.
Thank you.
Yeah. And not from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Not so much, no.
She would have cut it out.
She would have broken his legs while also winning the ball, yes. But doing it very calmly and coolly while wearing a leather jacket. But here, Diaz, I think, tries to make a play on the ball. And if Gallardo collects it, I think Diaz can get goal side, slow the run down, or, make the professional foul. But because Diaz goes for the slide tackle, he ends up playing in Jackson, who probably was offside.
I'm going to say definitely. It's kind of hard from the camera angle, but it feels to me like he's like 5 yards offside.
Yeah, but because it comes off the defender, it's an active play by a defender, not offside anymore.
Not offside.
And maybe that catches Jackson by surprise a little bit, because he then tries to run the goalkeeper. Doesn't do it cleanly. But
Dane St. Clair.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, of course, Dane St. Clair in the all-black kit. But yes. But then the ball pops back up to Jackson. He's able to finish, we think, again, because for a moment I think the commentator was about to say, like, and puts it just wide or something like that, and then has to adjust mid-sentence, realizing that actually he scored.
And Jackson, I'd say, doesn't do well in terms of going around St. Clair, because St. Clair gets a foot in.
Yeah.
And the ball pops up, and then Jackson does really well to just react one time, put it in the bottom corner after initially not doing so well.
Goal's a goal. That's
Goal's
what I say.
a goal. Yeah. So, Jackson with the goal. It finishes 1-0 to the Kickers. There's one substitution that's kind of interesting. Maxi Rodriguez comes in. Maxi Rodriguez we find really interesting because at the start of the season, he was like the key central midfielder. All the possession game would go through Maxi Rodriguez. There's definitely been a change that coincides with this three-game winning streak, where Braden Troyer is the central midfielder and is not in charge of possession so much as he is more of a defensive player. But it seems like then the ball gets spread around a lot more. And I think that works for the Kickers a lot more.
I think it does. We haven't talked to Coach Bulow. We haven't talked to anybody else from the Kickers about this necessarily. But my guess is that it's not even really about like, Maxi was the problem, he couldn't do it. I think it's that when we saw Maxi Rodriguez, a lot of times it was in a four. It was like a back four, and then Rodriguez ahead of them.
Yeah.
So he was dropping in. And maybe he is a little bit better on the ball and in moving the ball than, say, Braden Troyer.
I'd say he definitely is.
But when the Kickers move to that back three, you don't need that as much as you need that midfielder who can kind of put out fires and like be the defensive policeman almost.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not Rodriguez's game as much as it is Braden Troyer's.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, yeah. But it's good that he is captain, I suppose, right? So Maxi comes in for the last 15, 20 minutes and is part of the defensive rearguard as the Kickers see this out.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and basically
but he didn't replace Troyer, right? He played like left centre mid. That's the interesting part, yeah. So I think you're right. Maybe it is a change. I mean, we should talk to the coaching staff.
And I'm not trying to like make it even more negative for Maxi, who I'm guessing is probably not loving that he's gone from captain and starting every game to sitting on the bench and playing the final 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But even to emphasize why we think maybe Troyer is starting, in some of those moments when Maxi's on the field, you see him be a little bit late to close down or be a little bit late to leave his man to step.
Yeah.
And I think those are the reasons why maybe that didn't work for him doing that defensive job the way Braden Troyer has been able to do.
That makes sense to me. The other interesting thing in terms of selection is, Chin starting, Jackson comes in and scores 3 minutes later, and because it's you could call it the 3-5-1-1. One of the ones is going to be Gallardo every time, because there's no doubt about it, he's the Kickers' best player, right?
Yes.
He's the most dangerous player. He's so dangerous that Diaz was so terrified the ball was getting to him that he put Jackson through on goal instead.
I'm sure that's what it was.
But then for that one striker spot, it's essentially Chin versus Jackson, and they're in a contest now to see who starts the game.
They are. I think...
I find it hard to choose.
I feel like David Buehler does not. I feel like it is Dennis Chin until it's not. Yeah. And I think, like, it's probably one of those things. Like, I've heard Alan Gordon talk about this, how he used to get all this credit when he was playing for San Jose because he would come in and score these important goals. But he was like, yeah, it's because I came on to the 80th minute when everybody's tired and I'm not. Like, I can score those goals because maybe the defender's a little bit more tired.
Yeah, Wondolewski wore them down.
And exactly. And there may be that element here that, like, Chin runs around, causes all these problems. Gallardo runs around, causes all these problems. So when Jackson comes in, maybe he's going up against a slightly more fatigued back line. Yeah. I take your point, though, that Jackson scored the goal, so then you do wonder,
you never know.
He got the goal, or do you flip it around and let Chin be the impact sub at home to Toronto?
Yeah, we'll find out on Saturday when the Kickers host Toronto FC 2.
We certainly will.
It's a 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff at City Stadium. I haven't been to a game for like a month, mostly because the Kickers have been away and they had the week off. And yeah, it's just been a little while since I saw a game.
I don't remember the last game we went to.
Yeah, so it's weird for us, right? Because we were regular attendees.
It was early July, maybe? I think it's probably the last time we went to a game.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Weird.
But we're definitely going to be there Saturday night, right? Saturday, August 17th, 7 p.m. Eastern against Toronto FC 2. This is the
last game I went to was when they got beat up for the second time by North Texas.
Ooh,
that was the last game I went to.
That Pepe goal from distance, yeah. Okay, this game's big.
Yeah.
Because the Kickers are in 9th place right now with 21 points. Well clear of Orlando at the bottom.
All right.
But in 8th place, Toronto FC 2 with 23 points.
By the way, clear of Orlando is what you want to be.
You do.
In life and in terms of the standings.
We didn't throw shade at the whole city. Just the team that's bottom of USL League One.
Okay.
But the Kickers are 2 points behind Toronto FC 2, hosting them. That means if we win, we go a point clear and still will have a game in hand because we've played a game fewer. Playoffs are a long shot at this point, right? 10 games left. We are 9 points outside the playoffs.
Hey, you never know. We could have a 1980s sports movie style montage and we end up making the playoffs.
But why not? You got to have a montage. The montage.
Show a lot of things happening at once. Yeah. Remind everyone of what's going on.
Exactly. 3 wins in a row. Could make it 4. Could jump into 8th place ahead of Toronto FC.
Beautiful.
That is going to be Saturday night.
In your face, Canada.
7 p.m. at City Stadium.
Potentially.
We'll be there. You should be there too. We're not paid to say that. We just think you should.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in Richmond. Maybe if you live in Portland, it's a long way.
It is. But maybe if you need to incentivize being here, you could come to the Kickers game on Saturday. You could stay for the Ledbury warehouse sale, which is happening next week. We should talk a little bit about Ledbury for a moment.
Yes.
Ledbury are Richmond-based what would you say? Like clothier? Like highfalutin clothier?
If clothier is a word, then yes.
Okay, yes. But they started off makers of very, very nice, I should say like handmade, locally made shirts.
Made in Europe, actually.
Made in Europe, locally
designed in the US,
Thank
made
you.
in Europe.
Yes, but like basically it's better than the shirt you own is I think what we're going to go with on that one. But every year they do their annual warehouse sale where there are like discounts up to 75% off, so you can get their usually very expensive shirts and pants and pocket squares and ties and everything else that you might need for considerably lower than you would the rest of the year.
And the sale goes August 21st, which is a Wednesday through the weekend. So it's the first day is Wednesday the 21st. It goes through the weekend. Yeah.
But so we're assuming a lot of the people listening to this aren't in the Richmond area.
Co-owned by a soccer player.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend Paul Watson is one of the 2 Pauls that owns it. He is a very good soccer player.
He's a very good soccer player.
He is, yeah.
He is, yeah. Let's get him out more this season. Let's make that happen. Less shirts, more soccer, Paul.
And a Kickers crowd member. He turns up for a lot of Kickers games.
Exactly.
There a lot.
But say if you're a Richmond listener, then you can go to the Ledbury warehouse sale next week. If you are not in Richmond, say you're a Forward Madison fan and you maybe are now intrigued by this shirt maker in Richmond, then if you want to participate, you can, because you can go online and use the discount code. I believe it's TSS.
It's TSS 2019.
Thank you.
TSS 2019. Use that at ledbury.com, LEDBURY.com. TSS 2019 will get you 20% off your first Ledbury purchase.
Yes, or 1,000,000% off. We'll see. I'm not really sure.
Definitely.
You don't think it's 1,000,000%? Let's ask Paul.
He would say no. He would run the numbers and say that might put us out of business.
Yes. He probably wouldn't be a big fan of that one. So yeah, 20% off instead, TSS 2019. Or if you're in the kind of central Virginia area, come on down.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Come on down to Crazy Heads.
Yeah.
No, come on down to Sensible Paul.
Oh, I was going Price is Right style.
Oh, I see.
Come on down.
The store is on Broad Street.
Yep.
It's the Broad Street flagship store if you're coming to the warehouse sale starting August 21st.
There we are.
All right. So thank you to Ledbury for sponsoring today's Richmond Kickers Weekly. And thank you to the Kickers for winning 3 games in a row. Let's make it 4. It's more fun to talk about Kickers goals than opposition goals.
It certainly is. It just seems slightly strange to me to thank a team for winning a game.
Well, I feel thankful. And we'll see if they can do it again on Saturday.
Actually, let me phrase that. I feel like a lot of times when people thank a team for winning, it's like screaming and like, you did it, thank you so much. Like, this is the best. I've never heard it said very like, and thank you all for winning.
It's more polite, right?
And to you.
So, in celebration, let's have the Red Army play us out.